Hi, everyone. Welcome to this digital forum, Company Culture 4.0. It's for me a great pleasure to host this digital forum for first time under this invitation of Goals of Success. Today we have an amazing pool of speakers from different corners of the world who kindly accepted our invitation to share their knowledge, to share their expertise, and to let us know about the trends, the best practices that we can start implementing right away for improving our organizations, improving our teams, improving our institutions, and keep learning as well. This is a fantastic opportunity to keep learning, to stimulate the continuous learning as well, and also to make networking, that this is something that we love to do. So I'm going to start introducing the first panelists, and our first panelists who accompany us today are coming from 3 different countries. I love to create this kind of environments with multicultural disciplines, with multicultural backgrounds. I think that today we are more global than no more, right? So we are going to host today Nikola Kovacevic. He is a Canadian and actually lives in Serbia. He's the business development manager at Law. You have to correct me later, Nikola, if my pronunciation was not the right one. We also have Rogelio Soto from Mexico. He's the general director from Prudenza and also the director of HR. And we also have Syed Arshad from Saudi Arabia. Syed, he's the founder of Saudi Business Support Services. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here. These three panelists. We're going to start talking about the first topics of our panel. And I would like to start asking about your perspective and global vision. We know that after Corona pandemic, our lives change completely. The life of our organizations change, and we had to make many changes. We have to be flexible, and we have to introduce new strategies to survive. So in this occasion, I just would like to know, and this is a question for Nikola. Nikola, based on your experience, because I know that for the people who don't know you, Nikola has been in different countries, has lived in different environments, and he had the opportunity to meet with different cultures. So, Nikola, based on your experience, what might be these differences that perhaps you have witnessed, experience in this matter of global vision between the places that you have been, United Arab Emirates, for example, and Serbia, Europe in general, where you are located right now?
Thank you, Adelia, and thank you again for this great event and organization. Yes, so briefly, I was born in Canada, lived there, the Bahamas, UAE, and originally from Serbia. So I experienced many different cultures from, let's say, Middle Eastern, European, but also more, let's say, dynamic countries or cities such as the UAE and Dubai. One of the key differences, let's say, in Dubai is that there's lots of, it's still a relatively new country, or UAE, or Dubai is a city, Abu Dhabi, where you have many new faces constantly arriving. And what this has done is it's developed a niche market where people are more outgoing to new cultures, to new business opportunities, to networking, not just in terms of business, but also on a cultural and let's say friendly level. And because you're new and you experience many different cultures, it pushes you to adapt, but also to solidify yourself as a persona, to showcase your talents. Whereas if you're in a city or a country where you were born, you went to school there, high school, university, work, you might be a bit more hesitant on meeting new people, not because you don't want to meet people, but because you already have a very solid foundation of friends, of colleagues, of family, of neighbors. And it is only when you move to a new destination where you are new, brand new as any other people, where you're put in a situation where maybe that more extroverted side of yourself becomes to showcase, not because you want to be the loud one, but because you want to align with other people with similar talents, expertise, and to let them to hear new experiences from their end.
Correct. Now that you're talking about alignments, this is something that I just would like to continue asking to another panelist. Thank you for your answer, Nicolas. Rogelio, in your case, you have a solid career of 30 years supporting more than 300 foreign manufacturing companies in North America, South America, Europe, Asia. What kind of alignments have you found when talking about driving a company with a global vision?
Okay. Before responding to your question, thank you very much again for your invitation. I remember a long time ago when a person asked me about Rogelio, how do you imagine a highway of 40 kilometers? How do you see it? What comes to your mind? And I remember I respond, I imagine that I'm on 3,000 feet over the world and watching, the highway from this beginning to the end and during the process. That's the only way that I see how to imagine that highway of 40 kilometers. That's the same idea that I have seen in my experience working with, as you say, a lot of companies, a lot of CEOs. So they gotta see this. They gotta have this global vision in order to understand, in order to be successful in their projects and their startups and their expansions in the world, making business. So, but if I talk about 4 or 5 characteristics, should be they gotta have a great or very clear purpose of their mission of their project, clear goals, targets, a very clear strategic planning. The second one would be the cultural knowledge. I mean, this is very important. I have seen some failures and some projects because a new CEO, a new company is starting up a new business in Africa, in America, in Asia, in Europe, that they go there and they don't study the cultural environment. So, and this is definitely make a difference in the success of a project. So this is something that I understand that my colleagues will talk later. So, but the cultural knowledge, this definitely is very important. The third one would be to understand the market. So what is the market that I'm going in? So it's really, really different when we talk about making business in Saudi Arabia or Europe or America, South America, North America, Central America. We have some particular differences that we need to consider before we start a project. The number 4 is, new one anyway. So the technology infrastructure. So when we talk about the ability to manage the data, the communication, logistics, in a global scale, but also with focus in regional vision. So we are talking about global vision, but the regional vision is something that comes newly in these days after nearshoring, the pandemic, et cetera. So we need to make a very good combination between the global vision, going to 30,000 feet, but the regional vision to go there, to study, to try to understand better. And definitely the number point is to review the talent. What is the critical talent is going to help you in your project in all the different process of this, planning and the strategic planning. But definitely this makes the difference based on my experience in all the different countries. Talent with global vision, talent with particular for the region that you are setting up a new.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Super concrete and very, very interesting. I mean, the points that you are saying. I just would like to connect this part of the cultural knowledge. I think that this is one of the main issues that not only in companies, whatever institution that wants to start their activities, their projects in a new region, in a new country, with a different culture, as far as it is, has to pay more attention about these particular keywords. Okay, Syed, you have supported some reputed multinational companies in launching their business or gaining market share in Saudi Arabia. What is the impact on today's global vision? Saudi Arabia today is booming, blossoming. What can you tell us about it?
Great. First of all, thank you very much, Idly, for this opportunity. And I also like to welcome our viewers. We'll try to keep this crisp and worth your time. So I'll take a step back, and you spoke of global vision, and well, I had this good fortune of having witnessed a complete transformation of the world that we've had in the last 2 decades. If I take you back for a minute to the 2000 and 2002, when it was the beginning of diversification. We were part of a batch which transitioned a credit card collections process from Buffalo, New York to India. At that particular time, we used to call the customers to collect on their credit cards, and we had such overwhelming responses, mixed responses. People used to be shocked, amazed. And some used to be offended at the fact, like, what, you're calling me from India for my $10? Are you insane? So it has been that kind of era that we witnessed. At that particular time, companies and countries used to collaborate. And today, now, we are in an era where we don't have to explain collaboration to people. We are blessed with the social media platforms. People know that they can be called from any particular region. So, I think it's been a great transformation. All right. Now, when we talk about global vision, what are the buzzwords that come to mind? Collaboration, as we said, diversity, and maybe inclusiveness. So yes. It is definitely come of age, and today we constantly evolving in that particular part. And I would say, like, the importance of diversity, needless to say, when we have people from different backgrounds, from different school of thought, they have a wider view. The probability of, there's higher possibility of arriving at solutions faster when you have a different set of individuals compared to a set of individuals from the same area going to the same school. So needless to talk about diversity, I would say, we just have to capitalize on how we're moving on. Coming to Saudi Arabia, yes, before this, I'm born and raised in India. And I've worked in I've had this fortune of supporting business in the USA and some Far Eastern markets before coming to Middle East about 7 years ago. Amazing. This place doesn't stop to amaze you at all. The first part, when you talk about the impact of Saudi Arabia, I would just say, not before this has there been a government over here which was so hungry to transform the country, to make it a global hub. Now, just throwing a few numbers, about $3.3 trillion are planned to be pumped in the next 7 years. And 7 years are going to pass by before you know. So yes, at this particular point, Saudi Arabia is welcoming foreign countries. So are the consumers. All right. And the consumer behavior over here is something which is it's definitely more interesting than what I've seen in other parts of the market.
You mentioned something, Syed, about what we now understand as implicit in this new era, where the global vision is a daily routine, or is something that is part of our agenda. Thank you so much for this. I would like to connect this part of information with another question that I have, and this would be for Nikola, and he's talking about building trust and confidence. Related about what Syed just said a few minutes ago, this kind of trust and confidence that somehow it has been developed. So it's crucial to develop this. So however, people have become more cautious as well, right? So in your opinion, Nikola, how could we build trust in other environments?
It's actually very interesting what you said, because yes, people have become more adaptive, and they've learned about new cultures, and the world has gotten much smaller in a way. But people have also been a bit more cautious. We all know the stories from the 80s, 90s, where cold callers have been notorious for making scams and so forth. Nowadays, that's almost impossible, because first of all, before you're going to call someone or send them an email link, they'll be able to view your online presence. If you don't have an online presence before initiating contact with someone, it might not work the way you adapted. And it's obviously through social media, through LinkedIn, your websites and so forth, that's very easily come across. Now, let's say you have your solid foundation, your solid online presence, and you've conducted your CV and your website all accordingly. The next step is making that initial contact, whether it's at an event or at a meeting or an email. But let's say if it's at a live event, it is very crucial to know who your potential contacts, customers, targets are. Read about them, learn about them before attending an event. Get to know them better before making that first contact, knowing what they might be looking for. So market research on that stuff from a firm's perspective, but also from an individual's perspective. And don't be hesitant to make that first connection, that first contact. Let people know what you would want them to know about yourself. But at the same time, don't be let's say the blabbermouth of the room, but ask people about themselves. And then eventually people will open up, they will engage with you, and you will engage with them. You will get to know what some of their problems might be. Can you assist them through a business professional's perspective, or can you connect them with someone? And then that's how you develop these networks, and you start to build trust. And then the third phase of that point of trust is your actual product or service. So let's say you have your online presence, you've engaged with your new connections, they've engaged with you, and they're looking for a follow-up meeting or for a proposal. They agree on your proposal, and now it's time to deliver that product. And if you underwhelm, or you end up overselling what you talked about, then that level of trust can drastically drop. And it's very difficult to then reach that cycle again, whether it's in a restaurant, whether you're a consulting firm. So you really have to be consistent with what you talk, because it's as simple as do the talk. But and especially in today's world where everyone is very much connected online, TripAdvisor reviews, Google reviews, this online presence, and yes, there's negativity on other fronts, but it is essential that you develop and that you actually deliver in what you.
Absolutely, yes. I like what you mentioned about being our own brand. You are totally right. It's something that today everybody has been driven into that direction. You are your own brand. You have to pay attention about what you say, what you promote, with who you connect, what you are going to propose, and how, the hows, the wheres, the whens. So everything is counting and matters. Absolutely. Time is running so fast. I would like to ask each of you to give us a takeaway for the audience. I know that I would like to continue with all this fantastic conversation about building a global vision. What might be that takeaway, that recommendation, that advice, that tip, something concrete that our audience can just take home and implement today? Rogelio, would you like to start?
Let me mention just 5 words very fast. First one, you gotta be an excellent project planner, whatever the area that you are working for. So excellent project planner, you gotta be have high focus on execution, tremendous high execution in order to be successful in a project, whatever you are. To be a quick maker decision, definitely is very important to avoid any problems in the future. High ability in problem solving, and the number 5, I think, the leadership. I mean, this is tremendously very important to be successful in a project.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Syed.
Yeah, I would like to give a couple of takeaways to, whether we're talking about companies who are looking to enter the global market. Number one, addressing to the companies who are looking at, I think, consider expanding in your own country if you've not tapped the market enough. All right, there's so much of room, actually, there's so much in untapped market before you actually move on to enter another country. All right, so we all know the importance and the monetary benefit attached to it, but expand enough in your own country, spend time for trial and error before you going for another country. And the second one would be about choosing the leaders. I think the criterion of keeping education first, and then probably if you're screening profiles based on education, you might lose out on people who actually have the expertise at the ground level, and the onus is on the leader to actually decide local representation. Apart from the diverse team, the onus is on the leader to decide the local representation in order to penetrate the market. Yeah, so that being it, and the last bit of advice for individuals, in today's world, we constantly, we've got so much influence on the social media, acquire this particular skill, acquire that particular skill. Yes, consider ourselves as a product. We have to keep ourselves useful and relevant to be able to be sold in the market continuously. But don't panic with that. Choose, your existing skills, improve your competence in your existing skills, and choose the skills that you're really passionate. For example, you learn or do without being paid for. That's how you'll understand what you'll enjoy doing. And I think, yeah, we're good to go. If we've survived the pandemic, we'll survive any particular area, considering the AI and robotic era that is
absolutely, completely. I like that. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nikola.
Quickly put, I think it's key to practice with new people, whether it's at your family lunch, whether it's at the person at work that you speak with the least. This will enable you to practice your own story and who you are, and to let people to know. So don't be hesitant to make that first connection. And the more you practice, the more you get to know other people, and the more other people will get to know you and your skills, and the more eloquent you are in what you portray.
Totally. Yes. Thank you so much. Just some keywords. Thank you so much. Just some keywords that I wrote here, and I just would like to share to the audience: adaptation, proposal, clear goals, cultural knowledge, understanding the market, review the talent, diversification, first connection, self-branding, quick responses, so education, passion about what you're doing in terms of scaling your competencies. Thank you so much again to other speakers. This is a very short period of time, for our panels of discussion. Anyway, I just made the invitation to the attendees to take a look on the names of other panelists, to look for them in LinkedIn, in their social media. So if you have any question, maybe you want to write any question in the chat, you can also write it. I can send them later, and they're gonna try also to reply to you. Yes? Thank you so much. We're going to proceed with the next panel of discussion. And the next panel of discussion is boosting connected teams. And for this, we have Violeta Rios, who is here on the screen, and Prasanna. Let me just, here it is. Prasanna Shivashankaraswamy. I hope that I pronounced your last name correctly.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Thank you so much, Prasanna and Violeta. Violeta is connecting from Mexico, and Prasanna from India. I'm so proud and so delighted to receive you, to host you today, and so happy that you accepted our invitation. I know that you have plenty of experience into boosting teams, into managing teams. The experiences not only in the countries where you live, and not only with the teams from those countries. So it's fantastic. Thank you so much for that. I would like to start my questions with a very particular question about challenges. And Violeta, I know that you have been hosting different meetings in different continents. What are some of the biggest challenges teams face when working together across different countries and time zones? So this is one of the, perhaps one of the main problems that we have. How can they be overcome?
The first challenge, and you mentioned it in the question, is time zones. Finding the right time to get people to meet. It could either be very early in the morning for some and very late for others. When I was a region advisor, we would actually open our calls saying, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So we knew that someone had to make a compromise. And that should be the first thing that we should all be in agreement with. Maybe today it's your turn to wake up early, and maybe tomorrow it's my turn to go to sleep late. But it can't always be the same time, just so it will be comfortable for one person in the group. So yes, finding a way to make time zones comfortable for everyone, I think that would be your first challenge. Your second one would be your communication styles. Some cultures are very direct and other cultures are very respectful. So as long as we find a way to make sure that that directness is not rudeness or an attack, and that politeness is not being passive, it does take a lot of understanding, a lot of listening, but most of all, a lot of patience. So if all teams are ready to embrace that challenge, I think that would be amazing. And last but not least, I think it would be their attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Attitudes are based on attitudes, and our culture are, they go on our daily experiences and what we live through. And if it's the first time these teams come together, we need to get some team building started so they can start to get to know each other, their backgrounds, their reactions. A lot of one-on-one time will probably be needed. But yeah, I think those are the top 3 challenges.
Yes, absolutely. And today, what time did you get up?
5 a.m.
For example, for instance, right? And Prasanna is on the other side. What time is it, Prasanna?
Oh, it's 7 p.m. here.
7 p.m. India. So
yeah,
that's the situation. Exactly just what you said. Your words here in the very best scenario. Absolutely. It's flexibility. I think that we have been learning about flexibility in the last years. Adaptation and flexibility is today some of the most important keywords, I guess. Thank you so much for sharing this, Violeta. Prasanna, how should affirmations, appreciations, and feedback be shared with the team to increase the bonding and inspire them to aspire for more?
Yeah. Yeah. Firstly, thanks, Ellie, for having me here and giving me an opportunity to listen to such great speakers as well as meet so many people across the globe. Well, boosting a team or having a team itself is, if you ask me, is a great thing. It's not something easier to have. So if you are chosen to be connected, either as a team member or as a team lead or as a manager, leader, whatever, it's a huge thing, and it's a two-way traffic. There's no one way. So just because you have a team lead or a manager, they cannot be the one who is directing traffic. You know, um, the best team works when they work on autopilot mode. They don't need somebody driving them. So how would that actually happen? How would that really come into force, or how can that be put into action? Is very simple. When we are giving feedback, whether it's, there is only two types of feedback. There's no hidden thing. Either it's a negative feedback or it's a positive feedback to your team. When it's a positive feedback and it's an appreciation, it should always be given publicly, in the sense either it's given in a team meet or it's written via email. Everybody involved with the team should be in the loop, because it's a great thing to know that your team has done well and your team is supported and done really, really well. And well, a person who has done really, really well obviously would one or the other day make a silly mistake. A mistake is a mistake, whether it's silly or not. So how do we do it? So do we act the same way like how we did with the appreciation? No. The reason is because when people are appreciated, the entire team takes it as a positive. They feed on it, is what I believe in and is what I've seen. So, but when a negative thing happens, everybody will just start to raise their guard. So whenever you have a feedback to be given, like, okay, you need to tell somebody that, hey, you didn't do this right. You could have done this better. You should always do it privately, one-on-one. You shouldn't do it in front of a team, because the message would get generalized. So appreciation should be generalized, whereas when you're giving feedback for people to correct themselves and come up the ladder, it should always be privately done. It should be personalized, and it should only be specifically to the point. That's
Yeah.
what I believe in. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's how it should actually travel. And when that happens, you actually are helping in setting an example of being the right person as being the right leader as well.
Mhm.
So your team member will trust you more. They'll come back to you and say, hey, you know what, I believe I'm going to make a mistake here. If I do this, can you guide me? Am I going to be doing this right or not?
Yes.
So
And that's also a challenge for the one who gives the feedback, because we are humans at the end.
oh yeah.
We're humans at the end, and sometimes we just have our own expectations about a work, about a job, about a task. And this is the bridge that perhaps sometimes we have to fill out, right? The expectations and the performance. And in the middle, well, we have to, how we are going to deliver that message. Yes, thank you so much, Prasanna, for sharing this. Talking about the different cultures, Violeta, you mentioned this in the first question. When you work across different countries, the different scenarios, the different backgrounds, and the different traditions that perhaps they have in their routines. So in what ways do cultural differences impact team dynamics and communication? And what kind of strategies can teams use to bridge these differences and work effectively together?
I think one of the things that as leaders, we need to take into consideration is, first of all, availability. Cultural differences establish holidays. And I had an incident recently where we had a meeting set up. Everyone was there except the most important person for the meeting. And when I started looking at the calendar, I realized it was a holiday in his country. Nobody took that into consideration, not the person that set up the call. It slipped my mind. So I think the first thing that we all, as leaders, if we're leading a multicultural team, we need to take care of is make sure what is important to each member of our team. Just like when you're building a brand new team locally, it's the same dynamic, just that there will be more holidays, there will be more time availability. You just have to find a way to make the puzzle work. And you also have to be very mindful that maybe this is a time for that the person will not be available at any given moment until the following day. So it's a combination of respect and keeping business at top priority. So we as leaders need to develop that cultural intelligence to understand where the others are coming from. And the only way you can become more culturally aware is either A, by reading, or B, establishing one-on-one time with each member of your team and asking them what is important for you. There is this book I've been thinking about, and I can't remember its name. If I find it, I'll send it to you. And it offers like 27 different strategies on how to get closer to your team. And one was actually like building the spider web. And so you can connect the dots on what is important, whether it's family, business, holidays, their background. It's useful for a leader to know exactly what is useful for each one of us. I think that's the first one. The second one, open communication. And the third one, you have to set the ground rules. And one of the ground rules, for example, when you lead a team with various time zones, when you're out, you're out. And at least that's my priority. If it's the end of your day and I send you a message because I'm still working, I don't expect you to reply. I expect a reply the following day. But one of my biggest challenges with my team has been, I send them an email and they're replying like, you left work 2 hours ago. I'm bored. I don't care if you're bored. It's your time off. Find something to do with your time off, but
yes.
You have to disconnect.
Yes.
Even though if I'm there, you have to disconnect. So I think those are the important things.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Consider.
Yes, absolutely. And what a list of challenges as well, right? It sounds very assertive, and it is, but also at the same time challenging. We have to perhaps unlearn some kind of routines that we have learned from so much time ago. Yes, thank you. Prasanna, I think that one of the most common tools when talking about connecting teams is 360-degree feedback, right? So this might be mandatory in many organizations. And the development of this culture makes teams get closer thanks to the constant feedback. So what is, in your opinion, the meaning or the use of this tool, a 360-degree feedback? Does it bring more pluses than minuses at the end?
Well, the first thing is whether it's a 360-degree feedback or just a feedback, it should always be transparent, is what I believe in. So if you are actually, so normally, now every organization, every company across all domains that are driving it, they want a 360-degree feedback. So, and the reason they say is, hey, you know what, we have made a product today, we have launched it. We would like to listen from the person who created the product, how he thinks about the product, and the user, how he thinks about the product. But you cannot set a boundary in the sense like, normally what happens when we need a feedback, we give them a questionnaire. So when the questionnaire is prepared, the questionnaire is prepared in such a way that the answers actually lean towards what you want to achieve. That shouldn't be the ideal way. That's not, because if we are actually requesting feedback only to get appreciation or just boast about how well we are, that's not feedback at all. That's just basically called, like in old English terms, as blowing your own trumpet. You know. So if you want feedback, you should be ready to take it with a pinch of salt as well. So, and feedback should always be transparent, and it should never be opinionated, and it should never ever be biased. And when feedback is given, even when it is received by the person who has asked for the feedback, it should be gauged by them in a humane sense, not in just a sense of getting the business done or getting the job done. Because I remember, because I'm a little bit of a philosophical guy, because I believe this. I can find jobs to do, but I cannot find hands to work for me. That's way too difficult. So if I have a team today who can work along with me, even without me telling them, hey, you know, you have to do this, and they come up to me and say, hey, Prasanna, see, I believe this is not right. So when you talk about 360-degree feedback, it's not something you do once in a year. It's something you do every day. So I talk to my team, I ask them, hey, how are you doing? Are you good? And if they say, hey, Prasanna, no, I had a bad day, I'm not doing well. My first thing is, well, let me know what it is. I'll get the job done. You can take off. And they would insist, no, I've taken care of the issue, whatever I am in, I'll still continue to work because I'm passionate about doing it. And where is the passion coming from? The passion is coming from is because I have a person here who is listening to me, who knows what my value is. Just one last thing I would just say is, any organization would hire a person today, looking at the resume, talking to them, gauging them, and telling that, hey, you have such and such skill set, which in terms of is also what the job needs as well as what the role needs. And I see that a couple of years later, it suddenly changes. They come back and say that the person is no longer the same. And why did they do it? They would have received feedback from other sections of the organization telling, because it's not just in India, okay? It's a global phenomenon that happens. So I've been here for 16 years, I know it. Politics is bad in any sense and anywhere. So people who want to take you down, who really don't want to do it, they will always come up with ideas to bring the team down, to bring you down. When that feedback is passed on a person whom you have hired 3 years back, and the person hasn't changed at all personally, I'm sure that whatever feedback you have received is not really true. And you need to have data to meet, because even now we are in the same world wherein even what you see today, you will have to reaffirm it more than 3 times to confirm whether what I'm saying is right or not. Seeing is not believing. And hearing, of course, is never believing.
Yes, thank you so much, Prasanna. Actually, you know what you mentioned, a daily routine, not exactly a routine of a particular moment in the year. Has to be something that has to be implemented daily and constantly. Time is running so fast. And we can continue here talking about these wonderful subtopics of how to boost connected teams. I just would like to give some keywords. Meanwhile, Prasanna and Violeta, think about that takeaway sentence that you would like to provide to the audience, okay? So what Prasanna and Violeta just told us today is the importance of flexibility, communication styles as well when we are connecting teams, listening, be patient, right? The attitude is really playing a role here. The feedback is a daily routine, not exactly only on those days established by the corporate. Cultural intelligence, I love that word, cultural intelligence, open communication, and set grounding roles. Absolutely amazing. So, Violeta, what will be your takeaway sentence?
One sentence, oh my God. I think the key would be that global teams require a proactive approach to communication, collaboration, and cultural understanding in order to overcome any challenge that comes their way and for them to be successful.
Thank you so much, Violeta. Thank you. Prasanna.
Well, the main keyword, or this is something that I had shared with my team just a year ago, less than a year ago, is every leader, every manager, every person who is leading a team always has to remember that with their team, they're everything. Without their team, they're nothing. It doesn't really make any sense.
Absolutely.
So it's your team.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prasanna and Violeta, for this amazing sharing, for sharing this knowledge. I think that the audience is really also so grateful to hear all this. And well, it's not a goodbye. It's just like, thank you so much. We are going to proceed with the next panelist. Thank you. I'm going to continue here with the third panel of discussion, that is empowering leadership. And we have Andreas Steffen here. We also have Sue Jackson. And we have Here we have Mariam. Yes, Mariam Moussa. So here we have 3 people from 3 different countries, Germany, UK, Egypt. I'm so delighted to have you here, to listen to your expertise, to listen to your best practices. Leadership is a word that we're going to continue learning and listening everywhere, and empowering. And this combination of empowering leadership, this is what we are so eager to keep learning today. So let me just start with the first question here. And I would like to start with you, Sue. I think that this is a question that we usually ask ourselves. Is leadership an acquired skill or something we are born with?
Well, thank you, Adeli, for inviting me to this panel, and it's really exciting to share knowledge and experience with the other panelists. So thank you for that. So my starting point is always, what do we mean by leadership? So for me, at its simplest level, it's a leader is someone who guides themselves and other people on a shared journey or endeavor. So you know, we tend to look at leaders as the CEOs, the leaders of countries, etc., leaders of institutions. And sometimes we can think, well, you know, I would never get to that point. You know, who am I to lead? Well, I actually believe that we're all natural born leaders. The question is, you know, do we have the opportunities or find the opportunities to learn what the leadership muscle to become the leaders that we ultimately can be? And I don't need to tell anyone that we're living in really fast moving times. I can't even remember what life was like 10 years ago. And I don't think many of us will have a real understanding of what life will really look like 10 years from now. We can maybe imagine, but I think it will be different because things are changing so much. So I think what it really comes down to is, and I'll get back to the question and answer the question, but living in this complex world, we need everybody to step up to be the leader that they are born to be. And then to come back to the specific question, well, is it chicken or is it the egg? Are we naturally born, or is it something we acquire? I think if you look through history, there are leaders who emerge who seem to lead naturally, but then have to learn all the skills to sustain that leadership and to evolve and to develop as a leader. And there are people who perhaps come into positions of leadership, but then have to really unleash their natural talents and gifts to actually become a better leader. So I think it's actually both. And I think the question is not so much, do I need to be a natural leader or not? Or is it something I can learn? It is, what am I called to do as a leader? And if I feel called to do as a leader, what are my next steps to actually explore that journey and see how I can grow as a person, but also help others to grow around me?
Yes, thank you so much. Absolutely. And at the end, we think that the environment plays a role here, right? The background, the environment, and the culture as well. We can't jump into those subtopics later. Andreas, you have plenty of experience in this topic, leadership. You have even published and you have made a lot of research in this matter. And one of the things that we usually listen is the leader and the manager, right? Sometimes we have this kind of questions about who am I? Am I a leader? Am I a manager? Who is better? What are the competencies? Things like this. So in your opinion, is there a difference between self-management and self-leadership?
So first of all, thank you for having me here. And yeah, it's a simple answer to your very intelligent question. And the answer is yes. Yes, there is a main difference. You can look at this with two quite similar sounding things. Do the things right or do the right things? Do the things right is management. It's follow the rules, be efficient. So this is very German. So, and on the other hand, it's do the right things. It's not only follow the rules. take a look at the given rules, at the given targets, and ask yourself, is this the right rule or is this the right way? So it's more like, this is leadership, do the right things. It's like Star Trek, where no man or no woman has gone before. It's like looking beyond the actual limits and maybe go beyond these actual limits. It's also accept failure, accept risks and maybe chaos. It's also be brave. And this is not so typical German. So we Germans are champions of this thing called German Angst, because we don't like failure. We can be very efficient. And yeah, if we look beyond our German borders, we see, things go sometimes in a different way when the people are a little bit more brave than we Germans.
Yeah. Absolutely, yes. And you know what, if you allow me just to mention something before I pass to the next question, reflection, Andreas. I mean, the process to reflect, perhaps this might be the difference in some cultures, right? For some cultures, the deliverables are more important. The results are more important. And for all other cultures, the process is more important. What occurs in that process will be the most important. So you are mentioning something about analysis and reflection. This is cultural. Yeah, cultural. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Mariam. So Mariam, you also have a tremendous career in coaching, in managing leadership programs in Europe, in the Middle East. For the ones who are just joining us, Mariam is right now in El Cairo. And I would like to ask you, Mariam, I mean, what professionals struggle the most when talking about self-leadership?
Thank you, Adeli, for having me here and inviting me. It's truly an honor to be with all of the panelists here today. And whenever we talk about leadership, I do personally become very passionate about it, because that has been a concept that started so many years ago and will continue for so many years to come. And no matter where you go around the world, whether it's Europe, Middle East, or Africa, or even the States or Australia, you still end up talking about the same thing. And whenever we talk about leadership, one thing that I definitely started seeing dealing with a lot of different cultures is that we're more similar than we are different. And we're more human beings at the end of the day, facing the same challenges, even if the flavors are different, even if the culture and the environment and the awareness or the progress of each region of the world is different. At the end of the day, it's more similar than actually different. So one of the very common things that I've started seeing as a struggle or a challenge in leadership, and for me, it's not more of a personal challenge, but I see it as a blind spot that sometimes leaders fall into, is actually two things. One, the blind spot in being self-aware, because when we start talking about self-leadership, it's all about responsibility. And you cannot take responsibility to start changing something if you're not really aware that is there. And whenever we start talking about self-leadership, it's looking at first yourself before starting to actually wanting to create any change, whether it's within the people, within the organization, or even on a larger scale in a country or a society. So for us to start actually working on ourselves, we need to be very self-aware. And if you've reached a leadership position in an organization, to a certain extent, you kind of are aware to a certain extent, but sometimes you just become so used to who you are, so used to what you've been doing and how you've been doing things. And then you're so confident as well that you got to that place that you start actually having blind spots of what might have been changing around you and whether you've been keeping up to it or not. Blind spots of maybe there's something wasn't working, but maybe the results didn't get impacted earlier on, but today that cannot be continuing. So that's the first thing. The second thing is sometimes the more you grow in a leadership position, the more busy you are and the more kind of like life is running around you. And this is where the struggle is, and building on your point and Andre's point as well, is like you don't allow yourself enough time to reflect. And that also adds to the first point, which is like it increases the blind spots or the gap, or it actually could be derailing the effectiveness as a leader.
Yes. Wow, this is amazing. And I think that we have lots of challenges every day as leaders. We have lots of challenges every day as leaders, as you mentioned. Our routines are so busy. We are just like flowing with this tempo, with another tempo, because right now everything goes in a different speed. But we also have to think about these breaks for meditation, for reflecting if we are doing the right way. But if we have to go back and maybe unlearn something or implement something new or something different. This is amazing. Thank you so much for that. I just would like to share to the audience, for the people who are just joining us right now, that these panels of discussion have the objective to deliver very concrete ideas, very concrete takeaways. So you can implement right away. You can take what you consider is the most convenient based on your scenarios, based on your cultures, based on your criteria. And talking about criteria, Sue Jackson, how can we measure leadership? Who sets these criteria?
Well, that's an interesting question, Adeli. They say measure what matters, but I suppose the question is, how do we decide what we measure? And, what behavior does it drive if we don't measure the right criteria? So I think actually there are three areas that leaders can either measure themselves or be measured. So obviously there's the performance measurement, which is around results, particularly if they're working for an organization or an institution or a business. And, results, profits, keep the business in business. So obviously it's very, very important. But also we need to make sure that we're measuring impact as well. So impact of the organization or the company, or impact on the employees, impact on stakeholders. So it's about getting the balance. But I think there are three areas. So the performance, so that tends to be the area that most companies and organizations, especially with technology, now we can measure pretty well. We can measure profits, we can measure turnover, we can measure new customers, new students. We have that on pat. We have 360-degree assessments that we've talked about already. The second area, the next two areas, I think actually are down to the leader. So the second area is for the leader to say, okay, how am I measured by my team, by my stakeholders? And that requires building trust, because you can have the results of a 360, but actually how do you know how honest and truthful those answers are? It's only when you actually build trust and can have those really robust conversations and either say, how did I do, or what ideas do you have, around if you had this challenge or problem. So that opens a very open and honest dialogue, which means the organization can grow, the leader can grow. So it's measuring performance through the people that really matter, the team, the stakeholders. Yes. And the third area is self. So measuring self. And here the leader can decide their criteria, but it could be like Andreas was saying, what did I do to overcome my fear today? Because we think as leaders as infallible and strong, but we also know from surveys that leaders often don't put their needs first and may not want to admit they don't know the answer to a problem because it might diminish their standing. Or like Mariam said, what did I do today to take time to reflect, to have time to really rebuild my energy so I can give my best to my team, to my organization. So it's three things. I think it's measuring results, it's measuring feedback from team directly, and it's also self-measurement.
Amazing. Yes, very concrete. And it's very important just to be concrete in what we have to focus. Our energy is also limited, I think, every day. And being a good leader and essential leader has to provide energy. So that's why we have to take care about that. Be very concrete on what it matters. what it matters. Thank you so much, Sue. Thank you so much. I would like just to continue with Andreas. Andreas, what do you think, in your opinion, might be the main aspects creating leadership?
First, one addition to what Sue just said. So recent studies found out that most of the leaders are human beings as well, most of them. And yeah, they first of all, they have to realize it. Just to repeat something Mariam said, maybe you have heard of the Temple of Delphi in Greece, and there was an imprint in the front which said, "Recognize yourself." And this is maybe the most important thing to create leadership. Exactly yesterday, we have published a blog article which is titled 1001 Skills for Good Leadership. And this is a little bit of fairy tale and a huge target. And we only have 131 bullet points of skills for good leadership. And if it's more than 5 or more than 10, it's a huge number. And in it, each individual leader has to find out, or has to create his own top 5 or top 10. My favorites, I already mentioned it: be brave, create clarity for others, and the first step for yourself. This is quite important to be a good leader, to know which way is the right one so that the others can follow. Yeah, empower your team and yourself as well. And as Sue already said, empowerment requires trust. Not only trust in others, and again, first of all, trust in myself. And this is as well something which not everyone has learned in school. Yeah, and to understand yourself, to start with yourself, because leadership begins with self-leadership. Take time for yourself. We already had this. Look in the mirror, accept what you see. From that standpoint, you can maybe change something if you want to change something, but you can only change something if you accept the status quo.
Yes.
Be aware of the resources you already have, and of the resources maybe you want to have in addition. And I think this is maybe something to
absolutely. I love that how you mentioned be brave on accepting what is the person I am right now, what kind of person I am right now, and be critical with myself, realistic with myself.
Not only critical. There's something which I sometimes do with leaders. It's, can you do this and can you do that, and maybe both hands. Yeah.
Yes.
Not only being critical. Sometimes it's very, very nice for learning, but this is as well very important for learning.
Totally. Starting with your own. Yes. Thank you so much, Andreas, for sharing this. Mariam, you have delivered transformative coaching sessions for managers in Europe and in the Middle East. What professionals struggle the most when talking about self-leadership?
Yeah. So I think, like, building on the general struggles that we've been seeing in today's world, which we call the VUCA world, which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, leadership has also taken challenges from here to even here. So it is becoming like very demanding from leadership to kind of like constantly find the right direction, find the right vision for themselves and for their teams and their organizations as well. And one of the key competencies that leaders need to be adopting today is the competency of being agile, being very adaptive personally in developing themselves, and as well in terms of like being very open to be changing things quickly, taking decisions very quickly, and also communicating in the most effective way very quickly. So a lot of things that are changing constantly and it's a very high high pace. And this is where leaders are kind of like need to be focusing on what muscles do I need to personally be building for myself, for my organization and my teams, in order to be able to adapt and cope with the world that's taking place around us. And I think to be building on this as well, one of the key things or the key solutions to help them do that is by making sure, again, and I don't want to be repeating the message, but because it's important, I feel like it's been popping up since the start of the panel discussion, like give yourself time for reflection, because without time for reflection, you'd be missing out on trends happening around you. You'd be missing out on expecting what are the changes that you're going to be facing as a leader, and you wouldn't be prepared. And we've all seen how like COVID has forced us to really sit down and reflect, and that's the good point and the good side of it. But then it's our responsibility starting today to kind of like create that on a more frequent basis, so that we're not really thrown off or like super surprised with the outcomes that we start seeing and the things that we start becoming aware of when we're really sitting down with ourselves.
Absolutely amazing. Yes. We are, as we mentioned earlier, we are now in other times where everything was for yesterday, right? Everything was for yesterday. And we even have to complete what we had to develop, I mean, last week. So it's amazing how our human brain has to adapt. And it's possible because we prove it every day. Every day we prove it. It's amazing. So time is running, and I know that we would love to continue with this discussion. We have other 2 panels of discussion. Andreas, Sue, and Mariam have shared fantastic ideas right away to be implemented. I would like just to read some keywords of their messages today. Meanwhile, think about your 1-sentence takeaway. And I just would like to say that they talk about the importance of reflection, the importance of having clarity when you perform as leader, the importance of being brave as well, having the right criteria. It's based on results, based on the impact, measuring the impact, right? It's also important to know the resources that we have, right? To know the resources that we have and to see what we have to change or to implement. But once again, reflection is a word that comes again in our speech. So let's just start with the first takeaway. Sue, would you like to share that with us?
Yes, thank you. So I think however you come into leadership, the work starts here. So it's a continuous journey of self-leadership, self-development and learning. I don't think it ever stops. And whether you lead thousands of people or 3, you have an important role. And the other thing is when you're looking at measuring your effectiveness, make sure you include what's important to your stakeholders.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sue. Mariam.
So actually, I love that Sue has started with that, because I'm going to be building on that, because for me, one thing that I always say, that when you're in a leadership position, whether you are a C-level or not, that's not the definition of leadership. But at the end of the day, you are in a place where a lot of things are pulling you in a lot of different directions, and there's a lot of demand. So my advice was just kind of like, lead the day before the day leads you. So start by you taking charge before you get pulled in all the different directions. And then it's just kind of like, what did I really achieve today?
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Andreas.
Yeah, it's a direct connection to Mariam. Be a mindful leader. And mindfulness requires that you know that you are now here. And if you ignore this, you put these 2 words together, now, here, and then it's nowhere. So to be present as a leader for yourself and others, mindfulness, mindful leadership.
Completely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Andreas. Thank you so much, Sue and Mariam, for this wonderful presentation, these great messages. And I hope this is not the last time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to proceed now to prepare the next panel of discussion. Let me see. And I think that okay. All right. So we have okay. Here we are. Excellent. Yes, the next panel of discussion, we're going to talk about a very important topic that is the feedback culture for innovation. We have been talking about this topic. Indeed, it's part of the company culture, a part of the cultural organization development, and this is fantastic when we have two different perspectives from two different sides of the world. We have Gladys Aguirre Drexel. She is right now in Mexico. She's founder and CEO of Drexel International. And we have Khadija Usman. She's also founder of her own organization, Grit and Fempreneur. So Khadija is in Pakistan. And I know that we have two different times here. And I just want to say thank you for this time that you are giving yourself to share with us your knowledge. So let's just start here with the first question. I know, Gladys, that you have worked with a wide range of international companies in North America, supporting them in their transformation. And based on what you have experienced, what would be the essential elements in a feedback culture for innovation?
Well, first of all, thank you, Ideli. I'm really happy. I'm excited and thankful. Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes, excellent.
For this great invitation and for being able to share with my wonderful colleagues and panelists. Answering your question, I think it's basically a follow-up of what the rest have been sharing. I hear the words before I answer my question: start with yourself, reflection, now, here, be present. And when we talk about feedback, basically I'm going to share, this is a very simple, basic step, in feedback, which are like 6 steps that I have used and I have taught to different leaders. And the number 1 would be to make a connection. We are human beings, first of all, as Andreas said, to make a connection with a person, right? And the feedback will be something personally. When you're giving feedback, that needs to be something that needs to be changed. So it's make a connection, a hello, try to connect, to find something to connect yourself with the other person. Number 2 will be to really start talking about facts, only facts, no judgments, no criticism, facts. And that's something that working with directors in human resources, they tell me that I never learned, and now I'm learning. It's talking about facts, issues, really facts. It's very important. No perceptions, no judgments, no criticisms, but only facts. And then after you talk about facts, to ask questions, basically focusing on solving the situation, on finding a solution, not on looking who's guilty or who's not, but just asking the proper questions. And then after you ask the question, you listen actively and consciously without making any judgments, without asking any questions. Just ask the questions to really get the information, but you listened actively. And after you listened, you can probably make another question and then listen again. And after asking questions and listening, then you can make a suggestion if needed, if it's necessary, or you value what they have done or what they're telling you. And finally, would be it's very important to make an agreement, a very specific agreement of after the facts and the asking questions and what has come to all that conversation, to really make an agreement that so you can really give a follow-up later on. Basically, that I have worked and I have used, and it's great.
Excellent. It sounds like a cycle that you have to identify each step and continue, right? And continue, because this never ends. This never ends. Thank you so much. I like what you mentioned about no perceptions. What a difficult situation, right? Sometimes. And now with our devices, when we use Telegram, WhatsApp, and everything is via text, sometimes we add the tone.
Absolutely. Yes. But I mean, I have that basically process. You can use it in person or via Zoom, or you can do it via fax. I mean, via WhatsApp or via email. You can talk about the facts, you can write the facts, you can ask questions, yes, and try to find a positive solution, and together define an agreement. Okay.
Totally. Yes. Thank you so much, Gladys, for sharing this. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Khadija, we know that, you have developed an inclusive community of professionals through GRIT. I would like to ask you, based on your experience, what is what you have heard in this community of executives, of professionals that you have developed? What might be these challenges that they usually face when building feedback culture in their teams or organizations? And perhaps if they have shared with us, that totally I think they have, how they have dealt with this, how to deal with this.
Yes, first of all, thank you, Ideally. You can hear me clearly?
Absolutely.
Yes. So thank you so much for having me here. Absolutely honored to join a panel of really seasoned professionals. So when it comes to, since our panel discussion is on innovation and feedback, so I'd like to talk more about what is an innovative culture and why is it needed in today's time. Innovative culture basically says that ideas don't have to come from the top. They can come from any, tier in the organization. And how do the ideas get to the top? Or, how does this happen? That's by creating a culture of feedback. And one of the things currently, to answer your question, that I've realized in teams that is being faced is the different generations at work. The Gen Z, which was born with technology and, phones, iPhones in their hands, and then they are currently 3 generations at the workplace. So there is a huge challenge when you're trying to bring them all at one page. There's one, the millennials who have sort of transitioned, because they were the ones who, while they were growing up, there was rapid technology taking place. The Gen Z were born with, as I said, technology in their hands. And then there's the older generation who are the seniors in organization, who adapted themselves. So flexibility on their part is one thing that's needed. And to understand the Gen Zs better, because they are the ones who are the future of the organization. And I've seen that flexibility a lot with senior leadership. Those who are doing really well, they are open to that kind of feedback and they are open to learn. Although previously I feel that, you felt that people down the tier, you wouldn't be open to ideas from them. So there is a transition happening. However, stats reveal that 85% people globally do not feel engaged in their organizations. They don't feel that they've been taken into loop, or they don't feel heard, and that's really important. So you need to have those innovative workshops, those idea challenges, and I think a lot more has to be done, because we're drifting, and life is becoming really fast paced. It's not just the big corporates that they've always been used to that pace, but even people with smaller and mid-sized businesses, they need to catch up now, because as the attention span of Gen Z is like 1.3 seconds, and when it comes to ads, and the attention of people earlier was around 8 seconds or so. So the attention spans are decreasing. We want to have a say. We are full of idea. We are exposed to so much more. So I think they want to be heard. They want to be included. So I think inclusion, as you said, inclusion is really important in today's culture. And currently, if you see companies who have more employee engagement, they are reported to be 21% more profitable than businesses who do not have that kind of culture. So it's really important. And one thing which I would like to go back to again was what Prasanna said. It was beautiful and very true, that as a leader, they have to be mindful of giving positive feedback more openly and negative feedback privately. Although this is absolutely true, but I'm not sure how it's practiced. I think in practice, there's where the gap is. We talk about diversity, we talk about inclusion, but how much of it is being practiced?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Khadija. You mentioned something very, very important, the practice and how to measure that. I mean, how to measure this kind. There's a lot of things that we have to do in terms of measuring these new concepts and new trends or strategies as inclusion, diversity, and being mindful. We still need to think about these kind of measurements. But totally agree about what you said to flexibility. Once again, adaptation and flexibility. Seems that this might be the word at the end. Actually, don't go, because the last panel talks about flexibility at work. So it's quite important. Let's just continue with the next question. And Gladys, from working with diverse leaders, could you share with us what will be some internal and external indicators for progress and success in an organization?
Okay, thank you. During our conversation, I have been listening some keywords that then I will answer my question. But from Andreas said, most leaders are human beings, right? So it's, or the now and the here, to be present. It's the awareness, and it's the connection, the flexibility. So from my experience, and what really has helped leaders around, the globe, and leaders that I have worked with and teams, are, I would say, 3 internal indicators and 4 external indicators, right? That I believe are important. The internal indicators basically for success and happiness, the first one would be to learn to be happy by ourselves, to have inner happiness. Yes, bravo, Andreas. Alles ganz genau, that's, yes, to learn to be happy by ourselves. It's inner happiness. And that means no suffering, to learn to be happy, but it has to be by ourselves. We are not, we cannot expect other people or the company to really make us happy. So that's number 1, and that's internal. The second one would be to have inner peace. That means inner peace, no reactivity. That would be the second one. And the third one would be to respect ourselves and others, and to be basically willing to serve unconditionally, using your talents, and everyone has different talents. So if we learn to be happy by ourselves, if we have inner peace, and if we respect ourselves and others, serving unconditionally, the results as a leader, as a team, and leading by example, that will be amazing. Okay, that's the internal indicators. And the external indicators you guys have been talking about, but I will just give it a name again, I guess. Number one, and which I have learned to be the most important. I didn't when I was younger, but now I do. The number one is relationships. And according to all experts, that's 80% of the results, relationships. But relationship, it has to do first with yourself and then with others. If you cannot have a good relationship with your team, with the higher leaders, or horizontal or vertical, I mean, you cannot be successful or happy or have peace. So relationships, it's the key. And number second would be adaptability, which we have been talking about. And adaptability means to really enjoy life, to enjoy where you are, to enjoy your job, to enjoy what you have, to enjoy and value where you are, basically. Not to be fighting against if you're in certain company or the other. Enjoy and adapt to the culture that where you are, and basically have good relationships. That's the second one. And the third one will be health. If you have good relationships and if you adapt and enjoy, your health will be fine. Otherwise, you will start being sick. And the number four will be economy, on the money. If you have good relationships, if you are happy, you have good health, you will always be prosperous. You will always have abundance, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the four indicators. And I can share that through experience. It's not just
sharing that. I have lived and gone through that. So
fantastic.
I hope that helps. Absolutely fantastic. It's a brilliant list. It's a brilliant list at the end by identifying that is everything starts here with us.
Absolutely.
Everything starts here with us. Thank you so much. Okay. Once again, let me just check here with Khadija. How might be this kind of trends in your opinion, Khadija? How trends do the professionals in your community follow for improvement and innovation? What can you tell us about this kind of trends that you have been witness in your community for this innovation?
Yes, thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to say I've been taking notes throughout because there was so much to learn, especially, and what Gladys shared was beautiful because, you know, what experience teaches, I think, and the years teach us, nothing can replace that. And when it comes to trends, ideally, I feel that when it comes to talking about innovation, sticking to that. Well, an innovative culture, as you know, is a fail fast culture. It means that you need to make iterations pretty quickly, and it's a culture of empowerment because you're letting your employees experiment and fail, and you know, you are letting entrepreneurship take place within your organization. So for that, I think you, as like a leader, has to have that as Violeta said, cultural intelligence. Cultural intelligence from a leadership point of view when it comes to trends, because the companies that I've been working with, they do have different, they are globally operating, and then there is this this challenge with, as I said, generations, and sort of putting the dots together when it comes to innovative trends. Let me check my the notes I've made as well.
Yes, of course.
Yes, so we have to keep that in mind. What do the reverse engineering, like what the customer is looking for versus, because your employees are also your customers, and then their families, and you have all these people as potential customers operating within you. So taking direct feedback from them is going to enrich your knowledge. So the trends I've noticed is that people are coming towards this reverse engineering and, the coaching culture, which is, asking questions and working on those and reflecting, as Mariam said. So reflection and self-awareness, all these elements being combined together. So I'm seeing this trend of coaching throughout organizations, which is facilitating that innovation as well, to put it that way. Was there something specific that you had in mind when you asked me this question, so I can be more precise?
Yes, no, that's fantastic, and this is actually everything is coming from your experience and your expertise and what you have experienced with your community. Because remember that this is the why our digital forum is so rich in perspectives, because we are coming from different cultures, we are living in different environments, perhaps different from the way we were raised and what we
also ideally I feel that post-COVID the trends have really changed, because I think we all businesses have started to focus on being more global, because I think we got the chance to come online and explore relationships with people in other countries. Yes, when it comes to payments and things like these, there are some gaps still when it comes to low-income economies and the payment gateways and things like these, but then there's Payoneer and things like that. But generally the trend has increased of being more global, operating from a more global perspective, whether you're freelancing, whether you're running even small businesses. I locally work with small businesses who have clients around the world, which is amazing to see. Because the potential it has of growth, and I think that's a promise for the future, that people who are in low-income economies can actually progress and improve their overall economies, obviously, when there's more IT exports going on.
Yes, totally agree. Thank you so much, Khadija, for sharing all this. And well, about this topic, we can continue till midnight, of course. I just would like to mention some key words that our panelists said today. Meanwhile, think about your takeaway sentence just to conclude this panel. And it was very interesting just to notice that all what you mentioned drive us to ourselves: self-awareness, self-assessment, who we are, why we are here, what talents we have. Am I using them? For what? When? I mean, it's like this kind of reflection at the end of the day, the one that we have to ask, the one that we have to do, right? It seems that it's not only to consider the environment, but before that is considering ourselves and try to identify and learn more about the person we are today. Not yesterday or a year ago, today, because that's the way how we are going to serve and to proceed with our mission here. So what will be your takeaway, Gladys, for the audience?
Well, basically, I'm going to give you 7 words, 7 tools that are basic tools for happiness, prosperity, and really, teamwork with yourself and in any organization. And the 7 words will be, number 1, to accept, or acceptance. Right? That means not changing others, but working on yourself. Number 2, assume or ownership, not blaming others, but really take ownership. Number 3, act, not react. Number 4, adapt, enjoy life. Number 5, appreciate, learn from the past and give thanks to what you have learned. Number 6, to value what you have. If not, we lose it. So really we have to value what we have and who we have in our lives. And number 7, respect, not criticizing others. So those are my 7 words, and really they are worthwhile applying them. And I send you all my love.
Oh, thank you so much, Gladys, for this fantastic closing. Thank you so much. Khadija.
Yes, so my key takeaway would be that inclusion at the workplace is the foundation to a success of an organization.
Excellent. I'm so grateful to have you here in this panel and to receive this power from the place where you are right now, and to be a bridge with our audience, connecting your expertise and your knowledge. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so
much. We are going to proceed now with our last panel, last but not least, panel of discussion. And this is flexibility at work. This is amazing that we have been talking about flexibility since the beginning, and we didn't formulate it like that. It was not on purpose to have flexibility as the conclusion of this digital forum, but it's like the cherry of the cake. Please round of applause to Gargi and Karin. They are joining us today from one is in Dubai, is the United Arab Emirates, and the other one is in Austria. In which city you are, Karin, right now?
Small town, Mariam, it's close to Vienna.
Okay, close to Vienna. Okay, excellent. So welcome, dear ladies. Thank you for being here. I know you are experts in this topic of flexibility at work, and somehow this is something that we still have to learn and implement. I just would like to start this discussion with you, Karin. Ladies and gentlemen, Karin is a certified EFT coach. And just to let you know what is an EFT coach, EFT means emotional freedom techniques. I think that this is so perfect to conclude our digital forum to talk about our emotions. So you are a certified EFT coach with experience in coaching high sensitive people. Can you give us a short description about what is this and what kind of problems around flexibility do they encounter in the workplace?
Okay, so highly sensitive people, and I'm one of them, and there must be another one in this group because about 15 to 20% of the population are highly sensitive. So I'm really curious who it is. I have some guesses. I'll find out later. But we are born with this very distinctive personality trait, and it's best explained that we have a very highly sensitive nervous system. Our filters are different. We notice more things in our environment, subtleties that other people don't even notice. Sometimes we say, oh, did you notice this and this? And others don't even saw it. Which is good and bad at the same time, because there's so much information coming in that is very exciting and wonderful that we automatically want to process, evaluate, but we often get overwhelmed and overstimulated it takes lots of energy to process so much information at the same time. So this key quality of processing information is very positive for us, because we can analyze things, we can think ahead, which is very wonderful in business. We notice things in teams that other people don't notice. We notice conflict when people in the team are not even aware that something is going on. We already notice the ripples and talk about it. But at the other side, we often get overstimulated, overwhelmed. All the information on the emotions from others in the team overwhelm us as well.
Wow.
So some of the organizations have all their ways of doing things and ways of implementing and communication geared towards the 80%, because they are not even aware that they have this highly sensitive gold mine really in their business. And so many ways of doing things are geared toward the 80%, and then HSPs experience some inflexibility from employers, like they're forced to be in open plan offices when they would rather be in smaller offices or work in the home office. There's often negative, critical, unempathetic feedback that really impacts HSPs who want purposeful, meaningful work, and they want the communication like that as well. There's often labeling: you're too sensitive, you need to grow thicker skin. Often HSPs get rushed to get projects done, which is the wrong approach for us. We need time to think about things and process, to go through all our filters. Then we come up with really unique solutions, new processes that can make work different, better, and more productive, and of course more profitable for businesses. And then one of the things that, because we have our own ways of doing things, micromanagement is just awful. It kills the joy and the passion of HSPs. And if we are not listened to, and if we are not excited and passionate where we work, we will leave your company. We will take all our intuition, all our knowledge, our competencies, all the connections and the trust we build with co-workers, and many of them will follow us to your competitor because you didn't listen to us and you didn't take our emotions seriously.
Wow. Yes. Wow. This is a fantastic description. And I'm pretty sure that perhaps many of us didn't know exactly, I mean, what is behind this concept, and that perhaps we might be in that profile, or we can have some traits from this profile. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we misunderstand, or we have a misconception of a person without noting that we're talking about this kind of situation, a high sensitive personality. Is part. We are all different. How important is to know the different personalities and scenarios that we might have as leaders in other teams. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Karin, for sharing this information. I will go to Gargi. And Gargi, I know that that you have an extensive career in talent management, learning, and organizational development in the Middle East and Asia. Certainly, you have witnessed how the concept of flexibility at work has gained power after Corona pandemic, and you may have wonderful stories and a lot of information and best practices about this particular situation. Could you please share something with us?
Sure. Greetings, everyone. I think good evening or good morning will not be the right thing. So yeah, greetings, everyone. And it's been a pleasure listening to all of you and getting things once again refreshed in our own practices, in our own memories is always good. It is a good practice, you know. Flexibility is a buzzword, and flexibility at times it was mostly seen as a taboo at the workplace, and mostly also seen as something which women ask for, you know. Yeah, it is like they have to manage family, manage growing children at times, manage home, manage job. But the corona has actually shown us that everybody needs flexibility, and flexibility has got a super upward impact on overall organization productivity. In my present and couple of my previous assignments, I was lucky enough to actually oversee and lead the organizational performance and organization effectiveness and through employee performance. And one of the major experience which I have gathered over the years, that when we understand employees' needs, be it flexibility, be it being heard, be it being found and being engaged, and so on and so forth, we in the process give employees an essence or a chance to outperform their previous performance, to enhance their productivity. Honestly, when you spend 9 hours, 10 hours, a physical timing does not really matter. And this has been my experience over the past many years now. Are we engaged in the job? Even physically, you are at office, but you are somewhere. You are you are probably on the websites or in e-commerce platforms. You are not on the job. And whether it is good or bad, that is not the scope of the discussion. But engagement or disengagement or whatever you say, that affects the bottom up of the organizational productivity cycle. So when we look at flexibility, probably this is the time has come that we look into productivity more over the actual time spent on the day, on the job, showing your ID card and then coming out and telling your boss that I'm going now. Those era are over. That does not mean that those things are still not practiced. Even it is practiced in larger economies, in strong organizations, big organization, medium organization. But somebody in the panel has said that generations behave differently with different scenarios. So one of the major point, as I come from the HR fraternity, for us, HR needs to understand that we need to be first flexible to address the employee need. My question goes back, as HR, how much are we flexible? Though it is a self-reflecting question, and honestly, if you ask, if we think from the employee's perspective or being wearing the shoes of the employee for a minute, probably we are not. There is a huge scope for improvement in the HR itself to actually being flexible and understand that baby boomers were having different needs, their life stage and their stage of the responsibility, their career aspiration, their retirement aspirations are different. Similarly, the millennials or the Gen X, Gen Z, whatever you say, the millennials, these are different people. Khadija said something that people are now, the kids are born with the iPhone. Yeah. And for us, when we saw a Sony Walkman, probably it was something I could not sleep for 2 weeks actually. When probably around grade 9 or 10, I got a Sony Walkman. So yeah, and now you give iPhone to my daughter. She said, yeah, the color looks good, but I don't know how much should I carry or not. Yes. Come on. So this is what is life all about. So HR is still with the Sony Walkman, or HR is upgraded to the iPhone is the pertinent question. So yeah, and so as the leadership. Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. I love that. I love how you mentioned this when you started your presentation by these female competencies, you know, this kind of connection of flexibility with the female competencies, with the sensitiveness, with the inclusiveness, with this kind of competencies that were oriented only for a gender. But as you
That's
mentioned,
diversity.
Corona
That is
pandemic,
neither inclusivity.
the situation has changed. The
Yeah.
situation has changed. We have learned that whoever might develop these competencies that indeed are needed, that indeed are necessary, right? So this is fantastic. Thank you so much, Gargi. Karin, going back to this situation of sensitiveness, how can you describe the concept of sensitive flexibility in the workplace and also the benefits? I think that because maybe this is something that some people might ask, okay, what might be the benefits of developing this sensitive flexibility in other organizations, in other businesses, with other teams? So whether they are high sensitive people or not.
And good point. And sensitivity is also on a scale. So everyone is sensitive, but just on a different level, depending on where we were born, how we were raised. So that's very important as well. So I think sensitive flexibility has to start with the opportunity for all employees and especially HSPs to share their feelings about work with a neutral outside support person. We always take care of the mind, but we need to take care of the emotions of everybody in the team as well. Genuine, empathetic, and positive praise, and others have already spoken about this, is really, really important. It's because it inspires everyone, especially HSPs who want their work to be deeply purposeful and meaningful. HSPs are often top performers when they are acknowledged. They are very conscientious and thorough, hardworking, and can motivate themselves consistently. And I think this is very important now, that we can motivate ourselves, especially when we're working from the home office. So this is where companies need to be very flexible. There needs to be extra off time for HSPs after a busy deadlines. We put everything into a project. We often over deliver. We work extra hours. We sometimes don't take care of ourselves. We work late hours because we're so passionate. We want to get things done, and there's often burnout. So if companies can offer and plan this extra time off after busy deadlines, then the HSPs will recharge their batteries quicker and are able to work more productively quicker as well. We need really respectful leaders who listen and who is sensitive to the unspoken subtle hints that HSPs give. 70% of HSPs are introverted, so they are not the loud ones up front. So they just make one comment and they assume that you will think like they do and get the hint when other people don't even realize. Then when you say, oh, I'm really tired after this deadline, that they mean I need some time off. So we need leaders that can hear those subtle hints and to support HSPs. The nice thing is about all those benefits for HSPs will help to the 80%, the non-HSP staff as well. They will appreciate them as much as the HSPs, and again raise profitability. So when we have emotionally and physically healthy employees, we have less sick leave, we have more focused, intuitive, caring employees, there's more productivity, higher profits, there's more creativity, more inspiration, more commitment. No systems and programs are graded because we are having fun, we are playing at work, and we can be our best, we can be crazy, and the crazy ideas are often the best ones. So those new innovations can create new streams of income and revenue, and also we can explore new markets. And then when we have those diverse teams, HSPs and non-HSPs, we can balance our strengths, we enhance our strengths and our competencies, we are happier, and so there's less change of staff, less training costs, and there's higher retention. So it's really a win-win for all.
Totally, totally. Better said, impossible. I love what you said, the unspoken. Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention about that. The unspoken speech. What is behind the silence? So this is what sometimes we skip, and we have to consider and ask the question again. Excellent. Thank you so much, Karin, for sharing this. And well, the last question of this forum, Gargi, we have been talking about mindfulness. We have been talking about how to be mindful. How important is that today in this flexibility at work? How being mindful as leaders affect our performance?
While talking about mindfulness, I will talk on two aspects. And mindfulness starts at every level of the organizational hierarchy. We should not always expect the leaders to be only mindful. Fine. As team members, as employees, every employee has an accountability to be mindful, of course. And that's the most utopian situation, which generally does not happen at both the side of the spectrum, you know. So when we talk about mindfulness, I recall Andreas talk about that very nicely, that are we aware of ourselves? And that starts from the point that who we are, what we do, and what is our purpose. That is number one. I'm a big proponent of a term called self-leadership. And when we talk about self-leadership starts the foundation being mindful about yourself, about your surrounding, about how you have been seen and perceived, and what kind of communication or a non-verbal clue that you are giving when you are interacting with people. Coming to the point of leaders being mindful, yes. When we talk about culture, and today's discussion point is culture, goals, success, so many things. When we talk about culture is definitely top-down. Definitely top-down. And when we talk about culture, the responsibility of mindfulness starts with the leaders more than the employees. So yes, what kind of relationship, what kind of trust, what kind of transparency, what kind of frequent communication that we are practicing, that is the game changer. Nobody will remember what you speak after 2 days, actually. Attention span 8 seconds to 1.3 seconds. That is what Khadija said. So yeah, after 2 days, people will not even remember what you said, but they will remember how you make them feel. So yeah, that's critical for us in a dynamic environment, which our another colleague said that we are in the VUCA world. Absolutely, more than the VUCA. Right now, we are in a world where we are always seeking affirmation. How many number of thumbs up or thumbs down, that defines our mindset. And coming back to Karin, high sensitive employees or high sensitive people, I have seen people crashing down because of social media influence, and which is probably another, ideally we'll do another digital forum on how to manage social media, and then also being flexible and being productive at workplace. That is definitely, I will definitely join that, because I see this particular menace is actually taking out a lot of productive time from this generation, which is actually intelligent. So that's a different discussion altogether. But yes, so being aware, being mindful, it starts, if we are talking about culture, if we are talking about transformation, definitely it starts with the leadership. But if we are talking about managing ourselves, that mindfulness, that starts with each one of us, everybody. And who is having the remote control? Is it you are having the remote control of your life, or the social media, or somebody else? That depends. Yeah, that depends on you. The choice is yours.
Absolutely. Awesome, Gargi. Thank you so much. I think, a respectful audience, you agree with me that having a better pool of panelists, impossible. Today, we have learned a lot. We have received the most amazing messages, best practices, experience, expertise. I am so delighted to have you here on board. Thank you so much. What would be that takeaway? Karin.
Karin, yes.
Well, I really encourage all of you and corporations and HR professionals to get trained in HSP's matters, to inform yourself, find out, have an HSP expert come into your corporation, find out who your HSPs are, do some training for all staff so there's an HSP awareness, and you will see that the productivity and your team spirit will soar.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Gargi.
Yeah, this message goes to all of us in the leadership position and aspiring to be in the leadership position, be it in HR or be it in any other fraternity. When we drop ego, we see the clearer picture. And when we see the clearer picture, then only we can build culture, else not, else otherwise we are just talking.
Totally. Thank you so much. This is amazing. Exactly 2 hours. Exactly 2 hours, ladies and gentlemen, we made it. We just delivered this digital forum, Company Culture 4.0, Transcontinental Perspective, for all of you from different corners of the world. I'm so proud of this pool of panelists. Thank you so much for your attendance. This has been recorded. Soon we're going to share the link. And of course, we're going to share this to the entire world. Thank you so much for this. And remember that everything, I think that's what we learned today, everything begins from ourselves. That's it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ideally.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ideally.
Germany, Andreas.
Have a great day.
Yeah.
Mexico, Pakistan, UK, India, so everywhere. I think that some of you, I don't know if everybody's there. Saudi Arabia, Riyadh.
Yes.
Thank you so much, everyone, for this wonderful, wonderful presentation. Big hug.
What an honor. Hugs to everyone.
Amazing work with the moderation, Ideally, I must say.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Have a wonderful day and good evening for everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Ideally. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Marvelous.
Ciao, ciao. Thank you. Thank you, audience.
Syed, thank you.
Thank you so much, Prasanna. Thank you. And thank you all the attendees. Ciao, ciao.